To the special meeting, Monday, April 24th, 5:30 PM. The first portion of the meeting is to accept Chief Lee's retirement notification. I think I'll read his letter if you don't mind. Mayor, council members, and Administrator Lioness, please consider this my letter of retirement. July 13th, 2023 will be my last day of work with the city of Cross Lake. After 26 and a half years and 30-year career as a police officer, I anxiously look forward to the next chapter, Kathy, of my life. Words will never be able to express the appreciation I have for the citizens of Cross Lake, my coworkers, and the council. So, Eric, I want to offer you a congratulations and good luck. And unless anybody else has anything to offer to that, we need a motion to accept.
I so move to accept his letter of resignation.
I'll second.
Okay.
And it is with reluctance. I'm going to put that very clearly.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No, Sandy's up there.
Marcia?
Yes.
Jackson? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next is discussion on how we're going to fill Eric's position.
Well, I think there's typically protocol that gets involved with the union. But I'm looking, and I just received it here when I walked in, a letter from the officer sitting right here in front. And I guess I'm going to ask, are all of you going to say absolutely yes to this letter?
Yes.
Okay. Then I think the protocol for the union then goes away because they're requesting that it goes away. And I am
Protocol for the union, Aaron.
Well, typically you have to open it up internally for 5 days. You would probably, you're the steward, you would understand it better than I.
With the union language, union contract language, if you decide to open it up internally, it has to be posted for 5 days to those who are qualified internally within that union group. Obviously, Jake is the only other one within that union group. So he would like to have the job, so it's open and closed. We don't have to post it.
How about externally, Eric? How about opening it up for,
It's up to the council.
yeah, is any union issue with that?
Nope,
Yeah. Okay.
nope.
But I think we can simplify our process if we just move forward and listen to our officers, listen to the department, and move forward.
Okay, Aaron, well taken. The other thing that I want to mention is for the last department heads, the last three, the planning and zoning, public works, and park and library, we've all advertised. And people from the departments apply, and have. Any comments to that? Sandy, good to see you.
Thank you.
I think we've kind of set a basis that that's what we do, is put it up for bids when a department head goes.
I don't believe that we have to. I don't think there's any requirement anywhere that says that we have to. That's why if we can save ourselves a lot of time, a lot of money, and we can provide additional training, that Eric can sit down and provide to Jake. Okay? So I guess I'm looking at it from that perspective. Also looking at it from the, trying to think how to word it, but it allows for internal promotions. It stops stagnation within the department, and it helps us to maintain our staff. It's a staff maintenance issue as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
When, can I ask, when is Eric's resignation
July,
official?
July 13th,
Oh, okay, thank you.
last day. Well, I kind of feel like we've set a precedent to publicize it, and obviously, any of the guys could apply, and hopefully they would.
Yeah, I feel like we've done it for Public Works and Planning and Zoning, and those employees applied for it too. What are we saying to the other employees then? If we do this internally and we don't advertise it, they have the opportunity to apply for it. I'm just saying that Planning and Zoning we did, and Park and Rec went.
I feel there is a difference in the three. And
Circumstances.
the difference is going to be when Patrick was brought on, there was 3 persons in that unit that all wanted the job as well, and they put in. So you automatically opened it up, okay? And we allowed everybody. With Peters, when we had 1 person and we needed to open up, and we did it from that perspective. So I don't think that there is a correlation in the 3. I believe we can move forward right here tonight.
Well, I think that without a question we could, Aaron. I just think for the citizens across Lake and whatever, to take a look around is a good thing to do.
But I think also the citizens would like to see us save some money too, that we don't have to expend in going forward.
Well, we have to advertise for the sergeant's position?
That depends. We find out if, is there
Or are we not going to have
anybody-
one?
No,
I don't know.
we did not advertise for the last sergeant's position. Let me put it that way.
Patrol officers. Yeah,
Yeah, come on up, Eric.
what's the difference between a sergeant and a patrol officer? Well, okay, then
Okay,
don't act like it was a
what
dumb
we're
question.
telling the people within the department, and what we're telling the people within the city is if you work hard in this job, in this department, there are chances for you, okay? There aren't any other chances in this agency for a whole lot of growth. And if a person is promoted to sergeant, it's because they were the most qualified and the best person for that fit, okay? That position. Secondly, if a position opens up, you don't look at your officers and go, you know, we can find someone else. It's fine. We'll go outside. You guys just sit, be happy, don't move, okay? That's what you're saying, all right? That's what we hear, that's what is said, because we don't have an opportunity otherwise, all right? So, you got someone who's worked his butt off to gain the knowledge and the experience to do the next level. That's what his job is. That's what I have prepared him the best of my ability to do, is a succession plan. If you're a supervisor, any one of us, and we've got people that work for us, that's what our job is, to prepare them for the next level. So, what you're saying to them, to me, is that you guys haven't done your job. We don't care what you think. We don't care about morale within the city. The employees of the city, which, by the way, has been shown God knows how many times over the last few years, Marcia, Dave, both you guys, okay? You have shown a lack of support. Let's get behind these guys. Let's do the right thing and let this department grow to the next level. Don't fiddle fart around with going outside, looking for someone else. Yes, are there people right here that are qualified or will be qualified in the next few years to take that position on? Absolutely. We have people within this agency that will take this department for decades, like you saw in my letter. So do the right thing, make it happen, get it off your plate, and move on to other things like the short-term rental that you have to get done, okay? The other stuff that we have to
Eric,
get done in the
who's in
city.
position to come up into the sergeant position then? What do we do with that?
That is going to be based
Jake was promoted to that a year ago or so, or how long ago?
A year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago.
So that's going to be up to the chief in my eyes. The chief is going to go, you've got Officer Willard with 25 years, Officer Marks with 7 years, Pat's still on probation. He's going to do fine. He'll be fine in the future. Officer Haynes has been with us for a little over a year, right? Yeah. And Jake was 17 years, okay?
You got two.
I have a question. Oh,
Yep.
do you mind, Eric? Sure. If Jake is promoted internally, is there a period of probation
With-
automatically?
Yes.
Yes.
The union contract states that there is a 3-month probation that can be extended to 6 months. Okay?
Okay.
And during that time, you know, it's up to obviously his boss, which is gonna be Mike Lyonnaise, to do any review. So,
I mean, I read the letter that you wrote, Eric. It was, very eloquent, and you show a lot of confidence in Jake. And I feel that indeed the morale of the police department would be pretty devastated if, Jake wasn't rewarded for his 17 years on the force. That's my opinion.
thank you. And these officers, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, I don't. But these officers need to know that they are liked, that they have, because they deserve to be liked, not because they're just them. They've worked hard, they've done their stuff. You gotta reward them. You can't look at an officer who's been here 10 years and pay him just $70,000 and go, there's your reward. It's not there. Let them do their job. Let them do the thing that they prepared to do. Okay, unless there's any other questions, I
Thanks,
don't have
Eric.
too much time.
I guess I never stated the fact that nobody was qualified. I think I was concerned about how the employees would feel in Public Works and in Planning and Zoning when we opened it up. Just a question out there so that if somebody would ask me that, we brought it up and addressed it. So, and if there's someone that can move up to sergeant, so be it. But I don't think we should be pointed out for asking the question because it has happened. And I don't appreciate that.
Well, with that fact in mind, I'm going to make a motion that we promote Jake Meyer to the position of Chief of Police, and I think we need to set up an appointment date for that and move forward. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a little discussion. I wish that we had more exposure to these guys, Eric. I know Bobby and Jake a little bit. I don't know you other guys at all. And I don't know how to do that. But, we should get to know you. You're absolutely right.
But the only,
Yeah, no, I know.
I think the only way to get to know him is let him move up the ladder.
I don't want to get to know him that way. No, I'm doing just fine. Yeah, there you go.
I
There
would
you go.
suggest, I don't have any water. Anyway, I would suggest that we have office hours, and we're there. And a ride-along is a great opportunity also. It's a lot of fun.
Would be.
But, I'm not going to call anyone out on this, but I have seen very few council members come into my office over the last 6 years. Very few, and you need to start doing that. I know you make it around to Parks and Rec, and I know you make it around with Public Works, and you go around with them. And Planning and Zoning, there's a lot of interaction. But the police department, you don't interact with that much. And you need to start doing that. That's how you're going to get to know who these guys are.
I guess we got to make it a
Yep.
point to do that. Because
Absolutely.
they're not as around as the rest of them are.
Right.
There's not as much reason to do it. But I will certainly try to do that. In the probation period, I guess I'd like to see it for 6 months. If that could be part of the motion.
That's contract language, and I would guess that's contract language, and I would guess that if Administrator Lyonnaise felt that or the council felt that it should be extended, then that's something that you have to work through, probably with the union. I'm not sure how that would work.
I think it's in the union contract.
It's 3 months and then 6 months, yes. You can extend it to 6 months.
After 2.5 months or something, or?
Typically, they wait till closer to, but
Yep.
they could do it at 2 months or 2.5. They could do it at any of those things. We're taking you out to 6 months because of ABC.
And there's no problem with 6 months in the big realm of
Yeah,
things. I mean,
right.
it's,
That's what ours used to be.
I'm not gonna argue that point at all. You know, if you do this, then there's gonna be an intensive training for the next, hold on here, I got it. 79 days, hold on, where'd it go? 79 days, 6 hours, 15 minutes, and 5 seconds. I'm not counting though. But I will work with Sergeant Meyer, and he will work with whomever is gonna end up being his sergeant, and we will get hopefully a seamless transition going. And again, I mean, you did it with Ted Strand. If I have to be available, you know, for a certain time for questions, but there's a network out there of other chiefs that most questions can be answered very easily.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Go ahead, Char.
Jackson,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes,
Marcia.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, congratulations, Jake. Okay, next, Mr. Person is here. We're going to discuss the enforcement of violation of short-term rentals. Brad, there's a little bit of controversy into how much the city can do and what time periods they are. Shar and I have been kind of going back and forth about it, and one says 45 days. I talked to Chris Pence. He says the city can do more and do it immediately or whatever, but I guess what I would like to see is for you to get in a discussion with Chris and Gary and figure out what the city can do. I would like to, and I'd like to make a motion for it, but to have the city be able to put a little teeth into the county's ordinance. I think because we adopted it last time, I think we can do that. We're just not sure how we can.
My understanding, and I've talked with Chris briefly, but I didn't know, I can ask more directly when I know I get more direction from you guys. I don't think that they have interest in changing any of the rules, like regarding anything that's in the ordinance, but when it gets to, they believe that there's an infraction or a violation, it's our show at that point. So even though they told us to adopt their ordinance verbatim, I think in section 6 of the ordinance, we can add some additional clauses about the fine amount or different things like that. But we can't talk about the size of a bedroom, or we can't change the rules, we can change the penalty.
How about enforcing the public safety portion of it?
I believe the answer is no to that.
We cannot do that.
Right.
But the sewer compliance, we can do, we can enforce that.
Well, no, I mean, they define what you need to do for sewer. It's similar to what we had in our proposed ordinance, but it's different. But if they're in violation of the rules here.
Yeah, right. And the
then-
capacity and occupancy, all that stuff is their
then
rules.
It's their rules, but then we can have our own penalty. Or
I
we can
mean-
wait for the county to do it, use their administrative time before it gets to me. I mean, we can, but that's my understanding of how they want us to.
I would
interact.
like to see the noise, the parking, the garbage, those things enforced. Those are the things that are blatant.
As long as we use their definition of what noise is, you know, which is in 5.3, we can enforce that rule.
But as part of your conversation with Chris and Gary, can we be more restrictive than the county, or we just have to go by theirs?
No, I mean, so again, it's not a violation of noise as long as they follow that definition,
Okay.
or parking, or it's their rules.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add to it?
Well, I have a question, Brad. So, say there's a violation, can we address it immediately, or do we have to wait to talk to the county first?
That's where there's a bit of, I'll clarify that, but it felt like, for sure the answer is, unless you don't like this answer, we can challenge it a bit more. But it felt like, based on Char's back and forth with the county staff, was they want the ability to enforce their own rules, even though it's on behalf of the city, on a staff level. And they believe that takes 45 days to really kind of confirm they've given notice, there's been a chance to react. And at that point, after 45 days, they would give it to the county attorney in a township scenario. In this case, they would give it to me if it was in the city. But if you don't like waiting 45 days, we can talk about, that's what's going to happen if you don't direct otherwise.
But part of, for you to go in and talk to him, I had a conversation with Chris, and he said we could do it sooner if we wanted to.
We have to just
So
create that.
that's what you gotta find
Yeah, I
out.
think we can. That's the default unless we talk about it more.
Because the response from Gary Griffin, he said that the city can request that we send complaints to the attorney sooner. So
Yes.
that
No,
seems like-
I think they're willing to work with us. We just need to kind of give them a protocol we want to see. If we don't like the 45-day answer, what do you want to, I mean, that needs to come from the council, not me. If you don't like that time, I mean, in general, just thinking out loud don't think of short-term rentals, think of other city ordinances that are 100% city,
Yep.
not dual, like with the county in this case. Generally, I don't hear about a city infraction until he's been dealing with it for some time, if it's a zoning issue, for example. Staff does the first notice letter, and there's some dialogue between staff and the owner to confirm there really is a violation before it ever would get to me. So that doesn't mean you have to do it that way in this case, but typically you don't just, the first time a neighbor complains, it doesn't get to a city attorney. I mean, there's got to be a time for the administration people to confirm what really happened. Was it a false complaint? Does the owner know about it? Are they going to fix it on their own? There needs to be some dialogue typically before it would get to this layer. But this is different because there is coordinating with not our staff, it's county staff.
Right, well, it'll be a good trial run for us to do it, but I'd like to do as much as we can do.
But we could say, give it 15 days or not 45. I'm looking for, if you don't like the answer of 45, I think they did say we could do something different, but I think we need that expectation from council.
Well, that Gary Griffin had in his email that he doesn't want to change the time frame,
Well,
but he wants to keep it at 45 and not change it.
if we can ask, though, I mean, I got a little bit of, I think, a little competing, this 45, if 45 is okay on your end, that's what it's going to be. If you don't like that answer, give me what you want, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We got two different boards here.
Because we are not interested in the city asking for all STR processing to be at a different time.
I did read that.
So I'm thinking that 45 days is it.
That might be the answer you get if we try for 15 or 30 or 0.
What I don't want to see is that if we have a problem with somebody and they're turned into the county, there's no action for 45 days. So that, to me, that tells them that they can go through 6 or 8 cycles of rentals with no action.
Well,
And
I
that-
think the county is going to say they are doing things, but on a staff level, not a legal, what they do and how they do it, I mean, that's their business, that's who we retain, but normally the process would be, when there's a complaint, again, county staff, not me, would process the complaint and figure out what happened, do some fact-finding, and then some dialogue with the owner as well, before it would get to in my mind, that should happen before it gets to me.
Typically, right, Peter, typically now, by the time you send it to Brad, roughly how many days? I know you can't give me an exact number, but roughly how many days have gone by? 30, 45?
It depends on the nature. Typically, you go with seek compliance within 60 days, or 30, you know what I mean, depending on, again, how egregious it is. Like if somebody doesn't have a permit, it's, hey, we need this addressed within 10 days. And if they're working through the process, we work with them. And if it's something where they say, they ignore us, then we would step it up sooner, so.
But I kind of get the feeling from Gary's response, that's a little bit of what they're doing. He's just not saying it.
Exactly.
And I think maybe that's what we need to have
Beyond
clarified.
the emails, I haven't talked, I know Gary, but I haven't talked to Gary on this issue. I did talk to Chris Pence. That was more of his verbal response as to why there's a delay. It's not that nothing's happening, it's just, if you asked us to administer this, let us administer it. Meaning, do some of that back and forth that we would do if it was a city-driven issue, which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
45 days is a bit arbitrary, but there should be some time before it would get to where we're trying to do city attorney stuff.
And by the time you get it, it should be well laid out for you.
It should be vetted by staff before it gets to me, yes.
So, and that's what Peter's saying that he does, is he gets it all laid out before he ever sends it. And that, I think, is what I'm reading from Gary as well. So I think, I understand. He says in here, unless it's egregious. And then,
So-
I think we need to tell him if it's egregious, we want it as soon as we can get it.
So it's not 45 days until anything is done. It's 45 days until it's sent to the city attorney.
For sure, if that wasn't clear.
Correct.
I was trying to say that better.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
45 days, that's how long it takes for them to do the back and forth, getting to make sure the complaint was accurate, talk to the landowner, see what their reaction is, maybe give them a deadline to fix it. If they, like Peter said, if they ignore or they don't make the deadline, then it goes to the next level. But it takes time to do the back and forth with mailed notice and so on, especially nowadays. People don't get their mail very fast.
Well, unless it's egregious, and I
Right.
think we need to emphasize that. If it is, we need it as soon as it is reasonable to get.
I can confirm that with Chris after again, I wanted to have you guys talk this out a bit more before I talk back with county staff.
Does that make sense, Dave?
Makes sense to me.
It does. I'm going to make a motion that we authorize or direct our city attorney to approach the county and figure out what we can do. And part of that, I'd like to go along with you. So,
Oh, do it in person rather than by phone?
well,
Sure.
or if you're doing it in your office, if I
Do a
could sit
conference
there
call
or
or whatever we
something.
do,
Yeah.
okay.
But, so it's up to the council whether they want me to do that or not, but I'd like to.
I'll second.
And
Okay, does anybody have a question or anything on that?
So you'll bring it back to the city council for amendment of the ordinance? We'll put that in our ordinance?
I think what I'm hearing is, because I had some confusion myself, with this, if this motion goes through, the mayor and I will call Chris Pence, who might have Gary in the same line, so we're not hearing different things from different people. I'll ask Chris to maybe have Gary join the meeting too, so we're all at the same phone call. And
Dave, I would like you to be there as well.
yeah. And then confirm the timing and the process a bit better and what egregious means in their eyes and so on.
Yeah.
But then also talk about and confirm, because I saw it in an email, that once it does get to city attorney, we can adopt not a change to this ordinance, but just have a ancillary enforcement ordinance that talks about different penalties than is in the county ordinance, which we have not talked about yet, but we had quite a bit of discussion at prior meetings about wanting to have pretty stiff fines and so on. Assuming we get that nailed down, I would come back at the next council meeting with a report of what we talked about and a draft ancillary ordinance, again, just about the penalty section, not the rules section.
But does the county now penalize?
They have penalties in the ordinance.
So can we
but-
double penalty them?
Well, no, that's what I'm going to clarify. Our ordinance would say that. If it gets, because they very clearly said, not in our ordinance adoption, but in our discussion post-ordinance adoption, they want the city attorney, not the county attorney, to do the enforcement. It's not just that you're asking, they want the same thing.
Right.
Which means, and they basically said verbally again, more than they did in writing, we don't care what your fines are or what your penalties are, as long as it's the same rules. But we'll confirm that better in a joint phone conference.
That makes sense.
Okay, Shar?
Dave?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes?
Aaron?
Yes.
Marcia?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I guess just to recap it, Brad, where my concerns are is the public nuisance part of the STRs and giving people that live next to one some kind of relief that doesn't go out until next January. So if there's a problem one there, we need to enforce it to the point where we can give those people some relief on it.
I agree.
So however we word that or pursue it.
We'll talk about it in that phone call.
And then we'll have to talk to our police and get them on board to enforce it, you know,
Okay?
so. Okay, Jackson, your motion is up.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I second
Roll call
it.
that. All right, we're adjourned.